I don't know of any Black person besides Clarence Thomas.
I was gonna say Clarence Thomas.
Clarence Thomas,
who is a hoe?
who is more than a hoe? He's a bitch ass. But I don't know anyone besides any Black person besides Clarence Thomas who went to an Ivy League or went to a really good school and got out of the really good school with good grades and went on to be a senator or CEO or whatever, and then complains that they felt like they were stigmatized at the school they went to. Buddy, you are 65, 70 years old, man. It's time to get over it. It's time to get over whatever another Black person said to you at Yale about how you're an Uncle Tom or whatever. You need to get over it.
Or stop being one now.
Or so that stop being one now, because you're pulling up the ladder behind you. Right. You know you got into Yale on the basis of affirmative action, and you clearly did well for yourself. So what does that say about these claims that people are making that going to these schools as an affirmative action candidate, quote unquote, is somehow bad for the candidate? It just
especially
doesn't make any sense to me.
Now that we have an understanding that there is a difference between DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and accessibility hires, because as I've often said and will continue to say and will expound upon ad nauseum, because I see it starting to take root. If you are a diversity, equity, and inclusion hire, that means you had to do diversity math. So that math, Imani, says that we have to be twice as good just to get to the halfway point. By the time we arrive, considering we had to be twice as good the whole way, we 4 times better than you. I didn't do math real well. That's why I'm a lawyer, not a doctor. But I do know 2 + 2 is 4. And so if we're 4 times better than you, by the time we get to the place that we're at, I'm proud to be a diversity, equity, and inclusion hire. The thing that you are worried about, or that we should all be worried about, is the WEIs, not the DEIs. We need to be worried about the white, entitled, and incompetents who are now running the nation and trying to convince all of us that the last 60 years of integration didn't happen. Like, we're supposed to pretend. I saw a Black influencer. I can't remember his name. He's super smart. I think he goes by Ken Act. I think that's his name. But he was saying, am I supposed to just pretend like I didn't see Will and Grace growing up?
Oh, Ryan Ken. Yeah,
Ryan Ken,
they're great.
Yes. Thank you. They are amazing. And they were like, am I supposed to just pretend that I didn't see the Cosby Show growing up and that I wasn't exposed? Like, am I just supposed to pretend like white people aren't the main ones buying hip hop music? Like, are we just supposed to, is that what's going to be necessary to make the WEIs feel better? Because they are presuming, I think, Imani, that they can do a second version of what their ancestors did at the end of Reconstruction, which was to completely dismantle integration and then pretend it never existed. But Reconstruction was only like a good 10, 12 years. We don't have 60 years of this thing and entire generations born, grown, and now aged in this reality. And so at this point, I guess my question for you is, how do we get comfortable demanding, no, we need racial quotas? Like, how? Because I don't mind saying that. I know you don't mind saying that. Yeah. But a lot of us have spent the past, 20, 30, maybe 40 years being told that you can't have a quota because that would be bad. I'm like, nah, son, bring on the quotas. If we 13% of the population, I want to see 13% everywhere.
Right. And the thing is that we just have to start saying it. Honestly, we just need to say it. When I wrote this article, I thought, well, it's kind of a crazy thing to just be like, yeah, we need racial quotas. Like, let's go back to before Bakke. Let's go back to the 2 white presidents who instituted affirmative action and look at what they wanted. They wanted racial set-asides, right? Yes. And the idea that we are adjudicating these cases, or we're looking at these situations just sort of unmoored from the material circumstances and the context drives me bananas, right? When you think about, for example, Fearless Fund, that group of, Keisha Knight Pulliam, Rudy from the Cosby Show you're talking about, the Cosby Show, Keisha Knight Pulliam and some other Black women got together and threw some money in a pile and said, we are using this money to give $20,000 loans and grants to Black women entrepreneurs, right? And they got sued by the same guy, Edward Blum, the same guy who was responsible for taking down affirmative action in the Harvard and UNC cases, right? And so now he's going around to, to law firms and to venture capitalist firms, any place that has any sort of recognition that there are Black entrepreneurs, Black people who aren't getting any chance at all, much less a leg up. Right. And that maybe we should address that. Why is it in that lawsuit, there was no real conversation about the fact that Black women get something like 2% of the venture capital funds that are available? And this group wanted to put aside $20,000 grants and loans for people who wanted to open, Black women who wanted to open small businesses. And so what did we get?
Barely enough for one part-time staffer.
Barely enough. And so what did they do? They went around, they grabbed white women and some other people saying, well, it's unfair to them. It's unfair to them, as if they care about fairness to those white women. They're tokenizing other people in an attempt to remove opportunities that marginalized people have created for themselves. Right? These Black women created the Fearless Fund for other Black women because they looked at the venture capital world and saw that Black women weren't getting any money. And they said, you know what, we're gonna set aside a little bit of money. And then here comes a bunch of white people saying, well, that's not fair to white people.
Right.
And they didn't know about Fearless Fund. They didn't care about Fearless Fund. They didn't want $20,000 from a bunch of Black women. But now it's a big concern. So honestly, what we need to do is we need to stop being so concerned about white gays. Stop being concerned about
and
how
that's
white
GAZE, the way that they look at us, not the white GAYS.
No, not GAYS. We love the white gays. We don't like the white gays, right?
We
have to stop being worried about what
we love the nice, righteous white gays.
Right. So what the white folks are going to look at us and say or think about our abilities and our capabilities, because in Brazil, it like the racial quota, the policy bore itself out. It helped Black people attain higher levels of power and elite society. It helped more Black people graduate from schools with the same GPA, if not better GPAs than non-affirmative action candidates, right? It's not like Black people are getting into schools and then just like throwing up their hands. As you said, we have been taught from birth that we have to be twice as good. We have experienced white people around us getting opportunities that we didn't get. They were unqualified for that we were qualified for. So we need to stop worrying about what white people think. And we need to start saying loudly with our chest, you cannot fix 250, 300 years of slavery, 40, 50, 60 years of Jim Crow KKK terrorism with 13 years of quotas. Like you can't do it. You can't do it. And we need to be able to say that with our full chests.
Imani, Gandy, this is why we are so happy you are a part of the Lurie Daniel Favors team of people who make things make sense. How can people follow you, support you? We're tweeting out the article, of course, but what's the best way for them to support the work that you're doing?
You can find me. I'm on Blue Sky. I gave up Twitter, which is amazing. So I'm on Blue Sky, Angry Black Lady. You can follow rewirenewsgroup.com on Blue Sky on the website. Rewire's Instagram and TikTok is also really great. If you're interested at all in the law explained by a person who didn't go to law school, but has somehow managed to just sort of inhale all of the law that Jess and I have been able to give them. Our content creator, Beige Baby Jesus, is amazing for that. So he's got this, they've got this segment called Debrief, where they look at amicus briefs and they basically break them down for people who didn't go to law school and who want to understand what's going on. So yeah, we got you if you want to learn anything about repro justice and the law.